Hello, and how are you this evening? Sorry we didn't make it yesterday. We were, what were we doing?
Under the weather.
We were under the weather, and the weather's still up there, and we're still under it, but we're pretty perky again now. And
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, we had our good doses of vitamin D today.
we certainly did.
A lovely
And,
sunny day. Venture out again.
absolutely, and although vitamin D certainly doesn't, according to some reports, make you completely indestructible and this kind of thing, it does help the immune system a little bit, and we're not getting as much sunshine as we should right now. We're just looking at other people through the window. In fact, we're looking at nobody getting sun. We're looking at the trees opposite getting some sunshine in this in this weather, and that's the end of it.
Yeah. I don't know if you got to hear the guy again practicing front on against under that bridge.
I didn't, but he's quite a devil, isn't he? I've just realised the time at the time of this going out live, it's 1959, which was the year I was born.
Ooh.
How about that? But don't do any sums now, because you'll just make me feel kind of crotchety. Very good evening to Nick here in Hastings there, and Paul just down the road in Cambridge. It's very good to have you with us for our little daily chit chat. And as I say, we missed yesterday's because we were otherwise engaged. But which is pretty difficult, really. And hello, Andrea. Thank you for your company this evening. It's difficult to be otherwise engaged when you're stuck at home, anyway, isn't it? Really?
Yes,
You
yes.
rapidly run out of excuses, and you do the washing up 6 times, and then you think,
Yeah.
So yeah, let's run through some of the stuff that's going on today. Well, Boris Johnson has arrived back at Downing Street in a very big sort of car, no doubt bulletproof and what have you, and he's going to start work tomorrow. So that's kind of good. Looks like a van that he's in, actually. Perhaps they brought some of the the groceries or something in
It's
the
a
back
people
as
carrier.
well. They stopped off at Sainsbury or Tesco or something, picked up some bits and pieces on the way. I guess there's a lot of cabbages there in boxes, possibly. Hello, Richard. Thank you for joining us. And today's first bit of news is that Boris Johnson, our PM, is back in Downing Street. He's going to be there, rolling up his sleeves and getting back to work tomorrow. Paul says he was a 1958 boy. I only missed out on being a 1958 boy by one day, so it was kind of touch and go, really. But in fact, by less than 6 hours, because I was born at 5:30 in the morning, and that's the only time in my life that I've ever been awake at 5:30 in the morning. It's not for the faint-hearted, really. It should be abolished.
Now I get it why you're an early riser.
I'm going to lobby Parliament to pass a law outlawing 5:30 a.m.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
Here we go. And
Yeah.
so Boris back in the hot seat. He's only been seen once since he checked out of St Thomas's Hospital on the 12th of April, when he thanked them for everything they'd done. And since then, he's just been kind of recuperating, I guess chilling with Netflix, probably, you know. I would imagine, but that's just hypothetical. Now, see, here's a funny thing, because everybody was saying, in most people like me, were saying in the middle of, Paul, a very good evening to you, my very good friend. It's so lovely to have you with us this evening. And once again, I've apologised a couple of times. That's 2 Pauls now we got on there, and both of them radio fellas, which is amazing. What a small world. And Michael, welcome aboard. In March. A lot of people like me in the middle of March were saying, well, why don't we have a lockdown? Come on, let's have that lockdown, lock everybody at home. And now lots and lots of people are saying, let us out, help. And so, you know, what goes around comes around. And so, you know, the government can't get it right, whatever they do, really. They're going to come in the old firing line. Well, there's a salutary lesson from Japan here, which should sober up all the COVIDiots going out there kicking footballs and
Going to
hanging
Wales for a walking trip.
out. A whole bunch of people drove all the way to Wales from somewhere, hundreds of miles, to have a little walking trip. And what?
247 miles.
247 miles. That used to be the frequency of Radio 1. 247 Radio 1. But anyway, back in the day, not many people know that. So 247 miles. Well, of course they're going to send them back again. What an imbecilic kind of thing to do. But look, Japan's northern island of Hokkaido acted very early to contain the COVID. Earlier than us, they clamped it down. But unfortunately, they lifted the restrictions too soon. And what happens, a second wave, and went back into lockdown. And the second wave was even stronger than the first wave. So you've got to get the balance right. You've got to look at these numbers. And, you know, I resist the temptation to look at these numbers I do look at them on a daily basis, but I don't hold too much store by them because more reporting, less reporting comes in over the weekend, and then they make up for that on Tuesday or Wednesday or something. It looks like a big surge, but you have to sort of smooth it out. But having said that, out of the last 8 days, 5 of them were on a downward trajectory, and today's data, and again, don't put too much store on individual days, but today's data is the lowest coronavirus death thing at 400 and something since the beginning of the month. The next lower death rate was in March. So, you know, we are heading there, we are containing it, but we can't get complacent, and we do need to. We were going around the old dust store today, and everybody's doing like a little dance, and they've got all these marks on the floor, and we're all stepping back and all this kind of thing. Some of the supermarkets are not. I was in a supermarket on a Saturday where kind of they were just ignoring it all these stripy lines, both the staff and the good old and the public, the members of the great general public, were just sort of rushing around doing their shop, spreading their germs. Yeah. So you know, let's calm down a bit. And although lots of other supermarkets are available, a big special mention to Sainsbury's, where everybody was behaving, to the Sainsbury's customers really, because all the stores have put these marks on the floor, but Sainsbury's customers can read. And I wasn't a Sainsbury's customer before, but we are now.
But the whole process is well manned there, because you get to be waiting outside.
Yes.
And then you're allowed one at a time.
Yes.
And then you get someone watching what's happening between the aisles, and next one going in. So I'm very pleased with
and we
with
forgot today for one of us to wait outside, didn't we? But they didn't tell us off. That was very, very nice of them. But mostly one of us stays outside and gesticulates at the window, and one of us goes in there with the old trolley. And then I do this weird thing where I'm at the checkout, sort of paying for it. I use a self-checkout, and Emma took photos of me kind of pulling these things delicately out and saying, get away, get those germs away, and putting in the thing, which is you know, quite an activity. Hello, Gaia. Thank you for your company tonight.
Back.
Yes, a great comment from Paul, who says send them back another 247 miles so that they break the rules twice. Now, I think that's what happened. Actually, I think they were sort of nabbed. It's probably on your phone, is it? I think they were sort of nabbed at their destination. And forced back. But let us double check that. There's so much stuff going on here. But different. My goodness me! How do you get so much stuff into such a small phone? It's like it scrolls for miles. I went through it. Did I? Electric car review. Porsche driver. Katie Price's handsome trainer. Here we go. 10 Londoners sent home from North Wales. These phones will never catch on, you know. 10 Londoners sent home from North Wales after travelling 245 miles for a walking tour during the lockdown. Hello, fellas. And how do we see more of it?
Just click on it.
During, and it says no replacements found. Well, she clicked on the word during.
Oh yeah,
there we go. It worked. 10 people sent home and reported by the police. They should have been, at the very least, hung, drawn and quartered, in my view, and I think that would be far too lenient. And I'm going to go into one of my rants again. Hanging, drawing and quartering, which was something rather barbaric that they did in the Middle Ages. Where, do you really want to know? Because you've got a very visual mind. Well, they hung them. And then I think, I'm not quite sure what they did after that. I'm not quite sure what drawing is. I think I was pulling all their entrails out.
God,
and then they chopped them in 4. And that was all for just for getting a parking ticket, you know, so kind of a bit...
They didn't drive cars at the time?
Those Middle Ages, they were quite barbaric. They're not nice and civilised like us. Hello, Claudia. It's wonderful to have you with us. How's the lockdown? How's the lockdown going? I hope things are going all right. We do see photos and stuff from now and again on Facebook of our friends in lockdown, and Claudia is no exception. Now, you and Irma and your other friends should get together on this thing called Zoom at least once a week to have your get-togethers, and you can do it with a bunch of people's photos across the top and somebody down the bottom.
Yeah, and a few margaritas.
And what's keeping you? Colin will set it up, and you know, and I'll set it up here.
I'll try to do this sometime next week.
So
yeah, but even Spain, anyway, going back to
Spain
is showing lower figures.
Oh, I thought you said even Spain uses Zoom for get-togethers.
Everybody uses Zoom nowadays.
So Hokkaido in Japan locked down nice and early, got it under control. opened it up too soon because of the public saying, oh, we want to go to Wales for a walk. And so it surged even more than the previous peak. It went up, and they had to lock down again. So if we open up too soon, we won't do that. And just so you know, we're going to have to do the 2 metre distancing for the rest of the year. Whatever anybody tells you, we'll be sort of backing off from people as if they're lepers or something like that. But it's kind of important, and it's going to help us. And here's some good news, some good lockdowny news. The hospital in Birmingham that they built, they're all called Nightingale. So here it is. That's probably at the NEC. I went there once to a furniture exhibition to the National Exhibition Centre in Birmingham. I believe that's where it is. They've got no patients. I've got no patience with people I've got no patience with people who go out during the lockdown, let me tell you. But they have got no patience, as in people in the beds not well, because there aren't enough patients. So that is fantastic. We've got overcapacity there in Birmingham, and that's wonderful news. Oh, hello, Edward. How are things down Bristol way? Hope everything's good with you. And thanks for joining us in our living room for our sort of lockdown special. And you will be able to follow. There's a lot of things we're doing at the moment, and you will be able to follow it on here, and you'll see how we respond to this crisis. And we're going to do something quite dramatic in the course of the next month, which we were talking about today, and you will see it on video and stuff. No, I won't be doing my tightrope trapeze act. And no, I won't be showing you how to juggle, but we've got other things which will make a dramatic impact to our life, certainly, and will amuse you immensely as the month of May rolls out. So, wow. So Paul says, we're talking about hanging, drawing and quartering. So Paul says, they used torture when I was at school. One chap was suspended by the head, and I don't think that means... Well, what? I love it.
Good one.
I love it. Whoa, excellent. Meanwhile, Paul tells me, I'm not sure if there's a connection between this poor guy and the next thing. Paul saw Dire Straits at the NEC in Birmingham, which I have to tell you is better than a furniture exhibition. My friend's dad was a furniture seller or something in Birmingham, and we were on a radio station together back then, which is today called Cam FM 97.2, and Simon and I we were going up somewhere to a conference in Lancaster, the National Association of Student Broadcasters, NASB. It sounds like the sort of a trade union, doesn't it? The general workers of something. But anyway, it was a student radio conference, and on the way we popped in to see his dad, who was sitting there with his flat pack wardrobes or whatever. I don't remember the precise thing. I just remember the NEC was so big you had to use binoculars just to see the other side, let alone the end. But yeah, all good. Good evening to Kevin. It's very nice to have you with us this evening. You haven't missed too much that we were witching on about our usual stuff this evening.
Yeah, a little rant, but that's okay.
Yeah, you missed one little rant about the people who won't stay home.
Medieval treatments to people that misbehave.
Merely that, in my opinion, and there are those who may disagree, but hanging, drawing and quartering is too good for the people who break the curfew. Just that. I'm not, no controversy. I mean, who couldn't fail to see that?
Word of the day. The word of the day is sentient, isn't it? Okay, I found this sentient from the Latin. Do you know what sentient means?
Sentient, yes, it does. Thinking.
Sentient.
A sentient being.
No, it's not thinking. It comes from the Latin for feel, and therefore connected with sentiment and sensibility. This means being able to perceive or feel things by the senses, sight, touch, etc. Being able to receive sensations. A sentient being is one who is conscious of the world around, and sentient powers are sometimes differentiated from intellectual ones, which involve thought. I win.
I think I'm
word for the day.
Sentient being. Yeah. How cool is that? I've used that word for eons. I've used that word since before the dinosaurs, and without really understanding it. But Jonathan, it's very nice to hear from you, a kind of local lad, and also Lisa. Thank you for joining us too. We're just ranting away as we do. I get more and more ranty. I think the more this goes on, that's ranty with a T, and I guess don't even go there. So yeah, because it annoys me that these folks go out and because of the people who couldn't stay home, we're now at home for another week. Well, thank you guys, and especially thank you to the people who went all the way from London to Wales, 247 Radio 1 miles, and it was outrageous. It was outrageous. Now I'm going to have to click on this link here, and we'll see where that takes us because I can't use the old phone things because they're not big enough for my fingers. Well, here's a very interesting thing for the second phase of the coronavirus response. I thought we were on the third phase, actually, but they don't talk much about the first phase, which was the extremely flawed herd immunity thing, which would have killed us all if we hadn't sort of said no and all stood at the gates of 10 Downing Street saying, stay inside there, Boris. But yeah, so yeah, Kevin says, so which animals are sentient? And a very...
Which animals are sentient?
Yeah,
so long you have
discuss.
feel or touch or...
Well, an earthworm, is it sentient?
An earthworm. Yes. Well, I think even
Well, I don't know.
plants.
Do earthworms have feelings?
Yeah.
You know,
So,
that's
so
the
long you
question.
have been able to perceive or feel things by the senses, sight, touch, etc. So.
So an earthworm, as he or she is, or it, I think, is burrowing its way through the earth.
Cows,
Gets a
horses, every
Indeed.
single thing that has a heartbeat, I suppose, and including, well, I don't know, probably plants.
perhaps.
Well, I don't know if you've seen sometimes the trees. I don't know. It's not the wind, but you can see the actual leaves dancing. So,
Wow.
are they happy? I don't know.
Yeah. A very good
I
evening to my friend Dorota from Kielce, Yakshimash.
Yeah.
Hope everything's good with you this evening. We're just kind of discussing the news and making light of some very serious things to keep everybody jolly during this lockdown, much as they did, so I'm told, during the Second World War, while the old bombs were raining. You had this corrugated tin thing that they used to hide inside with the family when the air raid sirens used to go, and you'd all head down there with your tin hats on and I don't know, play cards by candlelight or something. Something like that. That's what my dad told me anyway. But I wasn't there, so I can't really comment. Anyways, here's something. See, they listen to this. I tell you, the powers that be, they listen to this, okay, and then they go away and implement it. They nicked my idea for doing 7-day averages for their press conferences on the number of people that weren't well. They nicked something else from somebody else as well. Oh yeah, they nicked my friend Rupert's idea for groups of trusted friends to sign up to a pledge where they will all self-isolate and really, really go the extra mile and be very, very contained and so forth, and then they can all get together in groups of up to 10. They nicked that idea, and now they've nicked something else as well. The idea that when you come into... They could have nicked it from the Chinese. No, they nicked it from me on here. The idea that when you land in an airport, you're going to be quarantined for up to a fortnight. People...
Well, that's happening in China. My friend went back to China, and they had to stay for, I think, 72 hours. They got tested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But instead of locking you in a shipping container, okay, which is what I would do, we just pass food under the door, they're just going to say, if you wouldn't mind, please stay at home, old boy, if you don't mind, for a fortnight. Is that okay?
No, they do.
Well, that's what they're going to do.
Well, they lock them, and they
Well, I
have
would.
they have an app. They have an app in which they have to report twice a day the temperature, and they also have to say that everything is fine. They're not allowed to go out the door. They just open the door, get the food, and there you go. That's it.
Now, here's the thing that they're going to do, and this is according to the Daily Telegraph, so it must be true because I believe everything that I read in all the newspapers all the time. Oh yeah, Rucker Kev has worked out that we have a washing machine, and here is the magnificent result of washing my
We do have a washing machine, I'll tell you.
I can't see what it says though. Does that say Corona?
No, it's just Camden.
Oh, that's all right then, because for some reason I see it mirrored. I'm guessing that you see what it actually says, but because we've got the phone in mirror mode, so you can do your hair properly, like in a mirror. But yeah, so yes, it is the same one, and I haven't got many T-shirts with slogans.
Right. So we have a pause, and then asking to get change. So is it going to be out in a flowery one? Yeah.
Well, yeah. So where do we say? So they are going to monitor us. When we come back in the airport, so I won't be going on a plane for the foreseeable future. Having said that, I don't care how many times they change the air; it's dangerous. Oh, good evening, Tony, and hello, Myra. Thank you for joining us this evening. I think it's your first time. Now, yeah, they're going to ask people to stay. That you're going to give them an address when you land at immigration, and then stay there for 14 days, and there will be big fines if you don't stay at the address that you've given to the authorities, because they'll know from your phone and places like that.
Yes.
And quite right too. Quite right too. They will flog the soles of your feet with a cat o' nine tails or something.
Yeah, but yeah.
Well,
When
hey, we're all staying at home. Somebody flies in from a hotspot, and they say, "Hey, don't worry, just wander off. Go anywhere you like. Actually, go on a walking tour of the whole of the UK."
I think they have to rethink the whole process from everything from traveling to going back to normal life. Everything has to be reshuffled.
Well, in China, where they really locked down very heavily on this current pandemic, didn't they? And to the extent of, and I would have done that here, sealing people in their blocks of flats by welding things across the door. Why didn't we do that? Only kidding. But and of course you realise all my rants are only kidding. But anyway, never mind. She doesn't. But I know she goes, "Oh, you were a bit ranty yesterday." I'm going, it's rock and roll. But part of what they've done in China now, according to friends that we've heard as well, is you know, they will actually test you when you come into the airport, and you have to wait until the results come in. And because they locked down so effectively, and because they contained this virus, now you know they don't want some. I mean, and the virus started, as we know, in China in the first place, and it was only spread around the world with a few people on planes. So the Chinese are well aware that a few people on planes could bring it back again, and so they're very rigorous about this. And I think this is a very good. I think it's a very good thing that that the authorities are talking about doing here when we come out of lockdown.
Yeah, but I think if we are to I don't know, I practice meditation in the mornings, yeah, and the way I do it is a way of connecting with Mother Earth. I mean, yes, it is bad what is going on out there. Yes, it's getting tackled. Hopefully, it's going to get better. Yes, but Earth needed this kind of breathing cycle, yeah. We needed to really recapitulate what we really want from life, to connect with our loved ones by this means, if you want to. So it's not all that bad.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we've lost a lot of people. Yeah. Well, I don't know. This is just me being me.
No. And we have you on here to be you. If you were me, you'd have to get a stick-on beard and that kind of thing. And glasses, so you much better. And you'd have to wear this stinky old 6-day-old T-shirt. No, oh sorry, the one freshly washed from the washing machine this morning. So Kevin says that I should be put in an Iron Maiden, and I'm immediately thinking of that film, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, where they go to meet the babes with the princesses. We've seen that film, haven't we? And then the king says, seize them and put them in the Iron Maiden, and Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves go, Iron Maiden, whoa! You know, not realising that it was a medieval torture device, which I'm not even going to tell you what it was. You'll have to Google it, but it had lots of nails in it.
Yeah, you just kind of get inside.
Oh!
There is one. I think there is one in Warwick Castle, in the dungeon.
Wow! Can I take it for a test drive next time we're there?
No.
You mean it's fenced off and you can't? I hate when they have these. I just hate when they have these stately homes and you're walking around. You can't put your feet on the sofa and you can't sit inside the Iron Maiden for a minute.
It's not a stately home. It's a castle.
The stately homes of England. Da, 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 da. But wasn't a stately home a sort of? Yeah, the stately home is just a kind of castle within a walls, is it? Would that be correct?
I don't know.
Where the head honcho lives, the important dude, yeah, from whence to rule over us, the plebs, I guess. So yeah, here's some news for you. Downing Street, the Sunday Telegraph understands that means somebody tipped him off, but it can't be in the bars anymore over a drink or something. So how do these journalists get their stories nowadays? Because you used to take someone out, get them inebriated, and they'd let slip that the end of the world was coming or something. And how very kind of Rocker Kev. He is releasing me from. I was a bit I don't have to go to see Bruce Dickinson after all, because the ones that will be sent to Iron Maiden are the people who don't comply, the COVIDiots. As we call them here.
That's okay. Was getting some kind of ideas.
I'm all right with that. We can put them in the Iron Maiden, and then we'll hang, draw, and quarter them. So how does that sound?
Actually, yes. There is a pub in London, in one of these back streets, in which they still have one of those cages, in where they used to hang people. Not hang, just keep people in the cages on the top.
Now that would be a good idea. Anybody in lockdown, hang them outside a pub, especially a closed pub, because that would be like torture for them, and keep them there for a week. Yeah, that's so. If we've got any other ideas of what we can do to people who got in the lockdown, which means that we're still having to stay at home here, then do tell us.
What was that word again?
We'll be very
Sent in.
eager. Yeah, and indeed. Now, Downing Street is preparing to ditch its current phrase "stay at home" for something else, but for the second phase of the return of the response. But we don't know that it's an Australian strategist who masterminded their election campaign. He's working on a new slogan that they can replace "stay at home" with. So it's mind the kangaroos, cobber, maybe, Struth.
No, probably keep your distance.
Um,
Like that T-shirt that you want to.
yeah, my boomerang won't come back. It'll be something like that. I don't know. That was an actual song. But yeah, there's pressure coming on his Borisness, and Boris isn't even back in the job yet. And there's pressure for him to outline how he's going to ease the lockdown. But you see, that's it. The bleeding public, we're never satisfied. When we're not in lockdown, we want to be in lockdown. When we're in lockdown, we want to not be in lockdown. I mean, there's no pleasing some people. What can you do? What can you do? It's the grass is always greener. The grass is always greener on the other side. That's what they say, isn't it? And it's true because I've seen it, but only from the window because I'm not allowed even to go there anymore. I know that beautiful green grass on the other side, and it's watered and everything. So yeah. When will it end? Well, who knows? It'll end when we're all healthy. But as I say, my advice to you is that even when the government releases the old lockdown and we're all moseying around again, if you see somebody coming towards you in the street, you just kind of give them a wide berth, just in case, until we've got the vaccine and the other stuff.
Yeah, but I think the idea of our friend of having kind of a group that's going to comply with some kind of a statement, or how was it again that you said?
Yes.
And just a trust group, so you can get
pledge.
together. A pledge. Just so you get together and have the good old natter chatter, glass of wine, coffee, beer.
A natter chatter. I love those natter chatters. But if one person transgresses, you see, and they've signed up to the pledge, and they haven't really been following the rules, what they suggest in these trust groups is that if a person does get exposed to something, they remove themselves from the group for 14 days. So
after infecting everybody else.
well. And Nigel, thank you for joining us this evening at home here in our living room.
Wow, long time no see.
It's nice to have you with us. Ooh la la! You see, and that's because look, the poor old government. We're going to have a whip round for them and have a crowdfunding for them because their public approval rating has fallen for the second week in a row. They're now 52% public rating. So we're slightly. The lockdown has still got the edge slightly, but who knows? And yes, we're all going to Lely, of course, which is why we're sitting here, larking around in our living room and staring at a box full of components in the corner. If I'd done that, I did do that, 30 years ago, and everybody thought I was nuts. And now it's kind of de rigueur, isn't it? It's what we all do. We stare at our devices in the corner of the room, and yeah. So the new normal. The new normal is what's coming along.
Okay, what is the new normal?
And well, it's a great phrase, isn't it? It's like saying, I don't know, scuba diving is the new normal. I mean, you could sort of so in other words, something a bit wacky is something that they're trying to persuade us all to do, and in this context, they want strict social distancing in workplaces where they reopen with hand washing facilities and sanitizer and things like spaces between people. And my friend Tracy on Facebook posted a video this morning which showed some kids running around in a nursery, and it just showed you how impractical social distancing could be, because there are these there, and then this other little kid sort of passes right next to
That's the thing that is going to be so difficult, because I mean they all share toys, books, resources, and everything else. So that is always a difficulty, and also with children that tend to develop all the viruses and all the resistance, which is okay because they need to build their own immunity, so it's normal. But if they come into contact with a grandmother or an ill parent, you're going to pass it.
he is a guy who is my hero, and thank you to Kevin for flagging this up. There's a fellow, and it's wonderful. There's a fellow who is a former soldier, and he is self-isolating on the hitherto uninhabited island of Hildesay, and that's got him and his dog, and a little tent. He's a former paratrooper, well, he didn't just go there when the lockdown was announced, but he was on a 12,000-mile walk from Swansea, going all the way around the coastline, and he's been given special permission, I'm not sure who from, to hole up on this island in the just off the Shetlands. It's 108 hectares, and he's sleeping in a tent. He and his dog, whose name is Jet, which is a great name for a dog, and also a great song by Paul McCartney. They were taken there by boat, and they've stayed there ever since. It's a former shepherd's hut without running water, although the picture I can see looks a bit more like a tent. But he's been offered the... I see. So he started off in a tent, and then the family of the man who owns it, not the tent, but no, not even the island, but a shepherd's hut on the island, have given him the keys, so he can go in there, and I don't think there's running water, heating or electricity, but does that mean there's gas, central heating, if there's no running water, heating or electricity? Oh no, heating would be gas.
When you are in nature, you don't really need much, more so when the weather is kind to you. One of my best holidays I had was when my brother and a friend took us to an uninhabited part of the world in Mexico, and it was amazing. We caught everything we ate.
Wow.
Yeah. So
we're looking at now a picture of his shepherd's hut that he's staying in. I mean, what does shepherds need electricity for anyway? And it appears to have either a lot of moss on the roof, like that thick, or it's been kind of grassed over as camouflage for sort
insulation.
of low-flying enemy aircraft scattering viruses who might...
It's in red.
It's, well, the building is red, and it literally looks like a wooden garden shed with big windows, which must make it very cold. But the and I can't hold this up to the screen at the moment because I've got it in a different place behind me here. But yeah, it looks like a garden shed with a mossy roof. But anyway, better than a tent, I would think. But those paratroopers are very hardy folks, and he says he's mainly been in isolation for the past 2 years anyway, because he's been walking onto all these sort of remote places. But he's obviously got, I don't know, something in his backpack that enables him to stay in touch with the world, because he heard there was a lockdown. No, he didn't see it, so he must have a little radio, like all us kids when we used to listen to Radio Caroline. But he heard there was going to be a lockdown, and somebody gave him, or maybe loaned him, a boat to get over to that island, which prior to that was uninhabited. The shepherd must have been there once. It must have been inhabited once. Because you don't put up shepherds' cabins if there aren't any shepherds and sheep. But and he says he's the happiest he's ever been. There's a regular, he's getting a regular boat drop which brings fresh water and coal. Those are the things you need when you're cold and thirsty. And he collects driftwood and forages for food. And he makes sure that he's always got a 3-week supply of dog food for Jet. Top man, and he says he's the happiest he's ever been, and it really is a very sort of remote location,
idyllic place.
And he set off from the Gower Peninsula. I've been there in Swansea with £10 in his pocket, and a few days of supplies to raise money for charity, and which is absolutely fantastic, and he is about halfway through his journey, I suppose, because if Wales is there and Scotland's up there, he's about halfway, and then he'll be coming down again. So maybe he'll pass this way on the way down, or that might not be quite remote enough. But thank you so much for sharing that story with us. Absolutely excellent. Paul says, Paul Cristoforo, that is, says, things are looking up for me. People have stopped telling me I need to get out more. That's because you haven't seen those people. If you did see them, they would. But we can't see them, so we can just imagine them, what they might tell us, you know.
Yeah. Things will come. I mean, nothing is forever, and nothing stays the same. So we are going through a change, and it will soon pass. It shall too pass. Mm-hmm. What is that? Oh my gosh!
A few pictures. This is a picture I can share with you that I just found. It's some street art in Venice Beach, Los Angeles, and it shows two people kissing whilst wearing flowery face masks. So there we are, no diseases being transferred there, and a thoroughly enjoyable experience for the protagonists, no doubt. So that was my yeah. So and then
Different experience.
some applause in Mumbai, which is much more. This is what applause should be, not our lame kind of stuff that we do like on Thursday, but you know, good for us to do it. But in Mumbai, they go one stage better and they bang the saucepan lids, and you know, some saucepan lid banging to applaud their care workers, and why not? And why not? So that's very, very nice indeed, and we have. All sorts of photos. Now, Irma's got a coat like this, actually. You have. She's got a coat that looks exactly like this. It's the same colour. It's probably not hermetically sealed, as that one presumably is, but that's a fella, I think it was in Mumbai. No, it wasn't in Mumbai. It was in the Baitaraman Grand Mosque in Indonesia, and he's cleaning said mosque as a preventative measure, just to make sure that none of those pesky little viruses are hanging out there, ready to drop on us as we go past. And hello to the second Kevin, our very good friend Kevin Darby from Ipswich. Hope today has been good to you, sir, and that things are looking up on the east coast there, in a town that was 19 miles away from the place I was born, and I used to pop down there all the time, and I saw 10cc in concert once at the Gaumont, I think it was, in Ipswich, and very nice it was.
Oh, you like 10cc? Yeah.
I do like 10cc. That Graham Goldman is a very talented songwriter who wrote loads of stuff for other people before he started doing it in his own band, and then he went solo, and now he goes on the road with his guitar and a couple of mates, and they do acoustic versions of all his top tunes, and very good it is too. Very good it is too. So some uplifting moments from a nurse on a coronavirus ward, where she's been sharing her video diary, telling about, you know, some of the happy things, and she's in a hospital called Monklands Hospital in Airdrie, and she's kind of quite newly qualified, and so kind of what a way to start your job in the one of the caring professions, facing this, you know, and her hospital has received hearts and such like for patients and their families. There are things that look like colourful knitted hearts here, I think. And not only that, this nurse missed her hen do because of lockdown. So you know, it's so her colleagues set up a little hen tea at work, which I thought was terribly touching, and you know, teamwork really. When the chips are down, that's when you find that, you know, everybody can pull together and do good stuff. Good evening to you, Manj. Thank you for joining us on this Super Sunday. I'm sounding like a DJ there, isn't I? Why would that be?
It's not Tuesday yet.
It's not Tuesday yet, is it? It's Super Soaraway Sunday. but it will be Tuesday soon.
Well, I hope you all have had the opportunity to enjoy a little bit of sunshine, even if it's through your window.
Absolutely so. Now, here is something in the Independent, which looks like somebody pushing somebody else in a shopping trolley. I think you'll agree that appears to be what's going on there, but we'll have to drill down into the article to find out what's actually going on there. It really does look like somebody has pushing somebody in a shopping trolley. It looks very much like a shopping trolley. Let us see.
I don't think that's in England. It doesn't look like not UK.
No, that's definitely in the States. And there's a big article where they have this picture, but it doesn't say what it is. So there we are. But no, never mind. It's impossible to say what it is. Yeah. Okay. But anyway, well, I'll leave that to your imagination.
That's a very interesting one.
An ICU worker, intensive care unit, hosts live stream parties to cope with COVID-19 stress, and he's got a mask just like we've got.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. I bet he got that from B&Q, and it's got the things where you can, you know, be drilling metal and it won't damage your eyesight. And this being so small, you won't possibly be able to see this at all, I don't think. Or maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I've got one of those.
You've got one of those. You've got. Well, this is your phone, I know.
No. No, The Mask, I mean.
Wasn't that a film with Jim Carrey?
No.
That's all right then. I
Oh,
thought it-
yes, The Mask. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. Well, you were telling me
Unless-
about it yesterday in the car park.
Oh, yes, I did.
You did, because I was being the Claw from the Jim Carrey film where it goes, the Claw, the Claw.
Yeah, he was wearing a glove.
Jim, yeah, I did. I got this tip from my friend Ollie actually, who said when you go shopping, put on one surgical glove and have one not surgical glove, and then you remember which hand. I mean, it doesn't protect you because skin is quite a good barrier to this virus. It can't go through skin except when you cut yourself, like I did. But anyway, so I put on a surgical glove to remind me which hand I should use to pick up all the provisions. A very good evening to my very good friend Colin. Hello, sir. It's super
Colin.
to have you with us. I hope your lockdown is happy and that kind of things are moving forward. We're a bit naughty. We venture out sometimes during lockdown, but we are now quite cautious about it.
Yes.
If we see another person coming, we back off as if they're a mutant ninja zombie. And you thought only turtles could be mutant ninjas, but no, around our way, it's zombies roaming the streets and causing trouble and that kind of thing. So some nice stories. This is a story from CNN, where a girl called Taran, who is 9 years old, and her 6-year-old sister Calliope. Children have such amazing names nowadays, don't they? Really, with me it was just sort of Fred, Bert, and Gillian or something, But these are terrific, and whoa. But so this 6-year-old and this 9-year-old anyway played some music on their neighbour's porch. The neighbour was self-isolating, so they took a cello and played a concert from the patio for this self-isolating person, which 2 cellos actually. There are these fellows called 2 cellos, aren't they, who play some fantastic stuff on YouTube where they take they're playing Metallica songs or whatever, and there's one with Steve Vai, I think the guitarist, where they challenge him to a duel, and it's all good. What have you got there?
Oh, no, it's just a little poem by Rumi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Whispers of the Beloved. And if I may share, it says, I am happy tonight, united with a friend, free from the pain of separation. I whirled and danced with the beloved. I tell my heart to not worry. The key to morning I've thrown away.
That's very lovely and very inspiring. It's good. It's good. So yeah, we're sort of still kind of weaving through all these
News.
bits of news. So a few seconds ago, we heard about this a lady who had to miss her hen do because she was in the hospital during lockdown, working there. And here's a very interesting one, because people are discovering windows more than they used to. Well, windows, when there are viruses around and everything, if you keep the window shut, and if you don't have any sort of rickety frames and everything, it's quite a good way to for 2 people to be kind of like close together, but not infecting one another. So there's a newly engaged woman who went to her grandfather's house, and she's not able to actually see him other than through the window, and so she told him through the window that she was engaged, which I thought is very nice. He's in a centre for the elderly in a place called Lake Wakamo, and she showed him the engagement ring through the window of the retirement home, and that was jolly nice for him. I was just about to show you my ring, but it's there on the thing, and I can't get it. But I'll put that on now. That's what she did. That's what she did. So we've got to get into the narrative of it all, and which I thought was lovely.
I see the photo, but it's beautiful. But what a shame, all those nice hugs that we used to give. Well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the administrator at the centre said it was very magical and very heartfelt. Carly, that's the girl who got engaged, started crying, and her grandfather started crying. It was beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. And there's a picture of this.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh,
very,
my
very
God.
moving. It's very, very moving. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? So there we are. So we can share things even when in times of adversity, we can all sort of pull together you know, do wonderful things for each other to make the world a really lovely and better place. And that's a beautiful story. It really is.
I think yes, we're very much in touch now with our feelings in terms of the people that matters in our lives. First, we need to start with ourselves and see what makes our world rock, and how we're gonna see it once all this is over.
Yeah, yeah, and part of what we do is we show appreciation for key workers, and they're not just hospital workers. They're not just the people keeping our provisions flowing in our shops. They're sometimes it's the people providing us with news, because we like to know every day sort of what's going on. It would be completely wrong to watch the news every hour because it's all about this virusy thing.
I don't.
So I think once a day is about enough. We didn't even watch Andrew Marr this morning. We just thought, whoa,
It's
you know.
one of my favourite programs. I normally don't watch television, hardly ever.
Yeah.
But Andrew Marr I do like sometimes when he's yeah. We've got good people there.
But in Seattle, anyway, a fan of the newspaper there, the Seattle Times, sent pizzas to all the staff who'd been covering goings on there, they had been working through the week to cover the spread of the coronavirus in Washington, which I think is quite a long way from Seattle, but I was never very good at geography. But very nice. A subscriber to that publication wrote in to ask if pizzas could be delivered to all the staff, and sure enough, on the big desk in the place, there's a pizza in front of every workstation, which I think is some very nice gesture. To
You were saying about the distance that needs to be kept now in places where we work.
Yes.
Probably for example, we were talking about commercial buildings the other day, so it's probably an opportunity there now for big companies to take and just, instead of having the desk, just desk, nothing, desk again.
They'll have to do that. A bit like they're doing at the checkouts now in supermarkets. These self-service checkouts now, like 1 in every 2 is, I think. It really does. But yeah, that's a nice.
Haven't had pizza for a long time, so.
I know we certainly haven't, but we will get round to it again at some point. But for now, people can anybody wants to show us a pizza through our window, feel free to do that when you're passing by any time. Just hold the box up. And we'll be dead jealous. Good evening, Nicholas. Thank you for joining us this evening, and hello to Russ as well. And that's it. Kevin is really on the pulse here because he's a total mind reader. When I was talking about 2 cellos, there are of course 4 cellos with only Metallica covers, I was pretty sure it was 2 blokes, but maybe not. He's talking about the band Apocalyptica. I will look this up afterwards, because I think there's also some blokes where there are 2 of them playing cellos as well. And their thing with...
Yeah, the 4 cellos is some ladies. Is that right? It's 4 ladies. They're very good.
So this is 2 blokes. So they're a bit more machismo. I think you've seen the 2 blokes in this.
Yes, they're very good. The girls are fantastic. They're fabulous.
They're playing with Steve Vai, where he's in the thing doing the gig, and or the other way around, and then they have a kind of duel, in the mode of that. What was that band? Dueling Banjos. That was a song that very few people will remember, or those who do remember it won't admit to it. But that was a kind of country music type thing. But this was a more rocky thing. But yes, I do remember Apocalyptica as well. And you know that your Good Samaritans. There's plenty of those. There's kindness at the grocery store, where a man offered to pay 2 people shopping while he was stocking up himself. How extremely nice, and he it wasn't his way of jumping the queue, because he was in front, and he just let 2 people behind do the thing. Oh, we're thinking about getting some new T-shirts made, so when we do, we'll show you those. But yeah, that's another story for later on. And we won't wash those for a month, honestly. Yeah, it's all it's all good. It's all good, and
it is.
Again, people who have their wedding anniversaries who are finding it difficult to celebrate those because of quarantine. And here's a couple who have been married for 67 years.
Oh my
Bob
God!
Shellard and Nancy, and they weren't able to meet up on the day. So again, He stood outside the window with balloons and signs that said, "I've loved you for 67 years and I still do. Happy anniversary." She waved and blew kisses from her window when she saw the sign. "I don't want anybody else," Mr. Shallard told NBC. "I don't think she could put up with anybody else besides me." Isn't that? That's an absolutely fabulously lovely gesture, and it's so nice to see that, you know, stuff like that can happen. I mean, goodness me, if they've been married for 67 years and he was 20, he must be getting on a bit.
Yeah.
That is quite a thing.
Very good.
What have we got about self-compassion?
Self-compassion. It's becoming your own comforter. Because many people are alone at home, and although they keep in touch, I suppose, with their beloved ones, sometimes it's not possible to have that friendly touch. But if you start with self-compassion, you can become your own comforter. So there are 3 roots, which is self-kindness. So you have to really understand what you stand for, and basically don't talk to, sometimes we say simple things like, "Oh, you're such an idiot," referring us to yourself. Really, it's not the best way to talk to yourself in that sense. But just laugh at what you're doing, and when you are in these situations, and just keep on going, and just be kind with yourself. Common humanity. Everyone faces challenges in life. Rather than feeling isolated by our errors and problems, or by coronavirus, see them as a sign that we share a great deal with other people, an insight that can comfort by making us feel more connected. And the third will be mindfulness. We don't always recognize how hard we are being on ourselves. Some of us even find it hard to notice how upset we are feeling. Take a moment to acknowledge feelings with the respect they deserve. So basically, you need to be kind to yourself, have common humanity, and be mindful of all your feelings.
That's excellent. Do you
That's
know,
about, yeah.
I'm always reluctant to do this on a live broadcast when this is the symptom of the disease, but
Ooh.
I know. Oh, back off.
Oh,
Back
dear,
off.
dear.
Thank you so much. That's very kind. So I've just posted a link, but obviously you're not allowed to click it now because you're watching us. But that's a link to a video of 2 cellos, which is 2 blokes playing with Steve Vai, which I was just able to dig up. So that one is for Kevin in particular, but anybody really, because it's a great, great, very inspiring video. And all the musicians therein are pretty damn good. Yeah. So some more compassionate stories, or shall we save them for tomorrow?
Yes.
How are we doing, kind of time wise? We've got
About 8 minutes.
we have a few more moments to chat then,
Okay.
and we will be looking for some more wisdom from you later on, because I'm the frivolous one,
Okay.
and you're the wise one. It kind of works well in that way, I think.
Yeah.
So there's a player for the NBA. Is that that kind of some kind of sporty thing? I think it is. Is it the National Basketball Association? I don't know. In America, there's a guy called Kevin Love, and what an appropriate surname, really. And he donated $100,000 of his own money to help the staff of an arena, presumably where he plays. Is that where he plays? And he did that. He did that the Cavs arena, and through his body that he sent up, the Kevin Love Fund, and these guys are on short shift. They're not getting their usual money in, and well, I think it's fantastic. And you know, it's very nice to give back. Very nice to give back. Really.
Of course.
Yeah. We get these postcards that come through our letterboxes from the neighbours, that they've been dropping them off regularly, and they say if you're at all kind of vulnerable, then feel free to get in touch. There's a sort of email address and a phone number where you can get in touch with our caring neighbours. And here's a building with some elderly folk in America where somebody has printed a community sign-up sheet where people can in two sides really. Residents looking for help, and residents offering help. And you just put your name and your contact details on each side, and people are starting to come together in this time, and we do in times of crisis. Small petty things are forgotten, and people come together to make the most of the opportunities out there, don't they?
That's right. Yep, we are going through a heck of a lot at the moment. So, I took some notes time ago in terms of body, mind, and soul. In terms of economy, it says honor your body, honor your wisdom, honor your environment, and honor your economy, physically, mentally, naturally. And coronavirus has changed the way we live. Nothing will be the same again. We are going through several emotions due to grieving the loss of our way of life. We are changing our social way of interacting, working. We have so much uncertainty at a global scale. However, so we go through, according to Kubler-Ross, we have a grief cycle, which is denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and acceptance. I think at this stage we are bargaining, isn't it? That's why we're reaching out to people. And so it comes to acceptance. How long are we going to stay in this one? What are your predictions? How long will it take for us to return to some form of normality?
Well, the spin doctors, as we heard earlier, are now talking about a new normal. So that means that they can redefine what's normal as, for example, not having loo paper anymore and things like this. So kind of, will things ever return to the way they were? We don't really know.
No, they won't return ever to the way they were. But when you say they have a new normal, who are they? I think it's time for us to regain our own independence and individuality in terms of what's important for each one of us that have been kept in captivity or indoors. We need to really reflect upon what is going to be our new normal and make it individual, and really design and reset what your new normal is going to be. I think that's the way I want to look at it, personally speaking. And of course, we are a unit. It involves two of us and our new normal.
Yes.
What's important? What do we need? And just keep going, but not let they to define the new normal.
Yeah,
whoever they are.
Define our own normal, which I think is a terrific idea, really. Yeah, and not be told, but also have a lot of common sense. And governments are a bit like dinosaurs in a sense, in that with a dinosaur, I remember it well, you would tread on its tail or something, and it would take about 10 minutes for this signal to go up the spinal cord to the dinosaur's head, at which point it'd turn around and bite your head off. But by then, you had a bit of a head start. So, similarly, we all see the news. We can see what's going on in the world. We can see what's going on in China now. We can see what's going on in Italy. We can see what's going on in South Korea and these other countries. And so perhaps we shouldn't wait for not in terms of breaking the lockdown. We've got to do that because that's quite sensible. Yeah. But when it lifts, I think we should be prudent. Some of us will be at higher risk than others, and I think it's important to know what the high-risk categories are. I did a video, was it last weekend? It seems like an eon ago, but I think it was last weekend with my very good friend, Dr. Mike, where we looked at who those categories of at-risk people are. Mostly it was people with sort of cardiac problems or diabetes or obesity, extremely obese, or the obvious one, anything with the old lungs. And there's a comorbidity as well if you're pregnant, and if you have one of those other things plus you're pregnant, then you're at very high risk. So if we feel we're in some of those at-risk groups, then we'll have to take more precautions than the government are currently kind of suggesting to everybody. And I think that's sensible. So we have brains too. Some of us, we do, and you do, because you wouldn't be watching us. Otherwise, you'd be watching some kind of reality TV show, wouldn't you? Where they're all stuck on an island or something.
We are real.
We are.
So, I think it's time to say goodbye.
I believe it is. But thank you so much to everybody who's stayed with us for the duration tonight. And if you're just passing through, if you've joined us a bit later than usual, hello. Also, hello, Eileen. It's lovely to have your company tonight. I'm sorry that we're just about to kind of wrap things up. You are able to sort of press rewind, I think, and watch it again from the beginning or whatever. But I hope your day's been good.
Skip.
Have we got a yeah? Have we got a special thought that we can send to Eileen?
Oh my
on
goodness!
this
Special
Sunday evening?
thought.
A special thought from your book of thoughts.
Make your own opportunities during these uncertain waters. Call it a revolution on evolution.
Yeah, there we are. Yeah, a revolution on evolution.
Mm-hmm.
That's food for thought. And I think, yes, with that we'll say goodnight. We will be back tomorrow night, and we really hope you can join us. Thank you once again for your company. We really appreciate it, because we'd be pretty silly if we were just sitting here talking to ourselves for hours on end. And we're going to sort of bundle these all up one day, put them on a memory stick, and give them to our grandchildren.
Or great grandchildren.
Well, they will be given that. We'll put in our wills that the grandchildren have to give it to the great grandchildren. Otherwise, they don't get anything in the will. They won't get my collection of spiders, and that's it. We'll just have to. Ooh,
Took it away. I've got one here.
oh yeah, she has actually. She has. This is one of our favourites. Yeah, let's have a look at that fella. He's a.
I just found it. I thought it was a real spider.
An absolute monster. And he's a little ring underneath, and so yeah, it didn't half scare Irma the other day, and that wasn't.
I thought it was a real spider.
He was just sitting there minding his own business. Some friends once pranked me because they had this spider, which was battery operated, and it responded to sound. So they stuck it up on the ceiling in the loo, and I sat down as you do to philosophise. And suddenly this thing kind of drops right down, and it was they'd measured it carefully, so it dropped right down beside my head. This great big wobbly thing like this, and I screamed my head off and ran out of the place with my trousers around my ankles, and they were waiting there, and they found it hilarious. But anyway, on that note, we leave you. Thank you so much for your company tonight. It's been a real honour to have you visit us in our little old living room here, and we do sincerely hope that we'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when. It'll actually be tomorrow. Oh, and a very good evening to Nick and to Jonathan. I mean, with people, it would be so churlish of us to wrap things up when people are still joining our little old broadcast. So we'll summarise a few of the things we were talking about earlier. I mean, probably you saw that Boris Johnson is going back to number 10. He went in there in a big car. What do you call it? People
Carrier.
It was full of his shopping for the week. So it had cauliflowers you could see through the window, and cabbages and carrots and that kind of thing. And there's Boris squished in there amongst the vegetables. So kind of, that was story one. The second thing we covered briefly was that well, basically the public, we're so fickle, because when we're not in lockdown, we're saying, come on guys, we've got to be in lockdown. And then we are in lockdown. We go, let us out, help. We can't stand it. So kind of, I was talking about the Japanese island of Hokkaido, where they locked down very quickly, because following on from their neighbours in South Korea, in Taiwan, and other places, Hong Kong, where they were dealing with this effectively. But Hokkaido lifted the lockdown after 3 weeks, which is not nearly long enough. And all the cases went up actually to a bigger peak than they had before. So that's the danger here. So we need to, and then they had to lock down again. So we need to sort of, keep it going, which I think is cool. The very good news that we led with tonight. Did you hear that? That was my neck making a noise. It does that sometimes, but it's where Dr. Frankenstein got the bolts a bit loose. So we'll have to get him to tighten them up a bit. Because you don't want it to roll off on live television. That would be good. So yeah, we had the great news that the Birmingham Nightingale Hospital at the NEC has no patients, because we are starting to contain this. We heard as well that today has seen the lowest number of cases of new deaths of coronavirus since last month. So that is pretty astonishing, given that now we're on the 20-something. We're nearly at the end.
The same for Spain. Is in the lowest case.
26th of April. We're nearly at the end of April, and we've gone down to the case levels seen at the end of March. and before lockdown, the number of deaths was doubling every 3 days. So that would be just such a big number. I wouldn't be able to count it on fingers, toes, and my abacus. But now we are getting getting a handle on that, which I thought was super nice. If you come to the UK after lockdown, whether you're a resident or not, the police or the immigration officials are going to say where you're living, and you give them the address, and they'll say stay there for 2 weeks, which I think is fantastic. But because people will be coming in from hotspots, and we had the case of was it 3,000 Spanish football fans wandering around from a Spanish hotspot before lockdown, which was some might say a bit irresponsible. Hello, Val. It's so lovely of you to join us this evening. It's we haven't met for a while. The place where we met, which was the cafe at the end of the road there, where you came for one of my property chat thingies, is currently shut, and all the chairs are on the tables, and there's a notice on the door saying we'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when. But it's a bit on the old shut side today. We're just doing a quick recap before we go. We did loads of uplifting stories of people, playing trumpets out of windows and that kind of thing. The most touching ones of all that we talked about earlier were to do with people separated by windows, weren't there? Mm-hmm. And there was this really moving story about a lady who came to show her grandfather that she's got engaged by kind of holding her ring up there in front of the window. And I thought that was very moving. And both the fiancé and the granddad were in tears at the end of this. I thought that was a lovely story. Then there was this guy who'd been married, was it 67 years? It was his 67th wedding anniversary, and his wife was in this care home, and being a lovely, devoted husband, he came to hold her up a card. Yay. To say, you're my number one, and I love you forever, and I want to spend my remaining days with you, and I feel so lucky. Kevin, we were talking about 2 cellos, and we're talking about 4 cellos. There's a band called Apocalyptica some while ago that used to play Metallica mostly, and then they diversified a bit with 4 cellos. Then there were these 2 blokes who looked like athletes. They looked like that guy, what is his name, Wicks.
Yeah,
Joe Wicks. They look like Joe Wicks, but they use their biceps to shred the old bow and everything. And there is a link in the comments today with a post to them where they're playing opposite Steve Vai. It's a wonderful video. So we're about to go now. So sorry to take our leave of you a bit prematurely, but when we go, look up on the comments. It's only 3 or 4 comments above, and you'll see a YouTube link. And together with Rocker Kev, we'll all have a watch party. How does that sound? We're taking our leave of you now. We'll see you at the same time. I was going to say next week, but it'll be at the same time tomorrow. So thank you very much for your wonderful company this evening. We're honoured that you decided to spend some of your Sunday evening with us.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.